Tonight as we go through the presentation, we're going to go through the exact steps for wholesaling. So this is how to buy properties for pennies on the dollar and how to close your next deal very fast. What I love about wholesaling is that it really and truly is the only strategy that you can have no money and be a real estate investor. So that means if you rode here on a bus tonight, yeah, you can do it too. For Phil and I, we're not the typical real estate trainer who says, you can make all this money with no money at all. That's not sort of our MO, but this really is the strategy that if you did right here on a bus tonight, then yeah, no, you could make money as a real estate investor using this. So, but what we do find is that most investors do graduate to other strategies as they start to build up their income, as they start to build up their wealth, as they start to build up that revenue, as they start to prove it out. They also change to other strategies as they start to get partners, as they start to get lenders, as they start to get a little bit more confident as well. So we'll go through what this looks like in terms of the anatomy of doing a wholesale deal. Again, this is typically a beginner strategy. Most people do graduate to other strategies as they get that level of knowledge, as they get that level of expertise, and as they start to make money. But the truth is, the secret is that being a real estate investor, even if you're a wholesaler, even though it doesn't require any money or very little money, it still requires a fair amount of expertise, right? You have to know what the property is worth. You have to know what the repairs are going to be. You have to be an expert at putting something under contract. So here in Texas, we use the TREC contract, which has grown since I started investing from a 7-page contract to now it's a 10-page contract. You have to know all the different blanks to fill out. There are about 80 different blanks on there. You have to be good at presenting the offer and actually selling that seller to sell to you. And of course, the analysis and due diligence doesn't just depend on what the property will reasonably sell for in terms of the ARV. It doesn't just depend on what the repairs are, but also depends on the conditions in the marketplace. So how long properties are you will hold them before you sell them. Something that I look at very closely, and it's going to sound a little bit ridiculous in the market that we're in now, but I very much feel that my job is not just to teach you how to invest today and make it in today's market, but to really teach you how to be an investor that's able to survive different market cycles, which we go through in the real estate market and the economic environment. So you do have to be aware of something we call not just days on market, but also months of inventory. So when you have days on market or months of inventory of less than 2 months, yeah, everything sells the first day that you put it on the market. You have much lower holding costs after you put that property on the market on the MLS. However, when the market changes, not if, but when the market changes and we go back to 4 months of inventory, 5 months of inventory, 6 months of inventory, then all of a sudden, guess what everyone cares about? Months of inventory and not just days on market. So you can have a situation where you might have days on market are 60 to 90 days, but you might have months of inventory that's 4 to 6 months. That increases your holding time, which increases your holding cost. So these are some of the things that you need to be sensitive about and knowledgeable about, even if you are just wholesaling. So you will ultimately graduate to these other strategies. And the great thing about wholesaling is you start to master some of those foundational level skills as a wholesaler that you can easily transform and move over to some of the other strategies that we use as real estate investors. The other thing is, I've been investing for 16 years. From time to time, guess what? I still wholesale. That doesn't make sense. Well, yeah, it sort of does, right? Some people wholesale depending on their availability of time, depending on their availability of money, depending on the project scope, depending on the location of the property. There was one property I remember we did a wholesale on, and it was a combination of all of those things. And it also happened to back up to the railroad tracks, and that was something that we didn't necessarily want to deal with when it came to having an extended hold time when you're waiting for your buyer who doesn't mind doesn't mind those railroad tracks. So it's not just something that you do for a little while and then completely graduate out of, but it is something that typically becomes a smaller and smaller portion of your overall business, which is perfect, especially considering that it is the other strategies that will make you more money as a real estate investor. So what are the benefits? The benefits to the investor who's just getting started. This is really the ultimate no money down strategy. This is a strategy that has very little or no barriers to entry. You can literally have, as long as you have a couple of nickels to rub together, meaning you have enough for your option fee, you have enough for an earnest money deposit, then guess what? And that's not very much, right? So you can get something under contract with $10 option, $10 earnest, and not have to have a significant amount of money to be able to use this strategy. So low or no barriers to entry when it comes to the financial side. You get all of the rewards and none of the risks. So I typically say that it's the wholesalers that get all of the risk-free profit and they transfer all of the risk-full profit to someone else. It generates very quick cash. You found it, but you're only in the deal long enough to get paid. And it's, of course, a great way to get that experience without taking on the risk of the remodel, without taking on the risk of the marketplace. So probably one of my least favorite quotes as a real estate investor is this one. My renovation project came in on time and on budget. Said no one, ever, right? So you don't have to deal with any of those risks. You don't have to deal with waiting to get that payday. And having a deal is definitely a magnet. So normally I wouldn't say this. Like if I was being videoed, I'm just going to go and say this now. But a lot of times, as the owner of this association, people will come up to me and say, Chanel, I've never been successful at anything. I failed at everything I do. I've recently lost my job. My wife left me. My dog just died. And I'm thinking, well, I need some hand sanitizer because if this is contagious, I don't want any part of it, right? But if you go up to someone and you say, I really don't know what I'm doing, I'm just getting started, but hey, I've got this deal, guess what? I want to have this conversation with you. So it is a great way to network and to network up, to create partnerships, to create relationships, to be able to tap into other people's knowledge, other people's money, other people's network, which is all positive stuff for us as real estate investors. We're going to go through these 12 steps, so I'm not going to break down each one on this slide, but we're going to break them down as we go through the presentation. Each one has their own slide, so you can get an idea and a feel for what it's like to be a wholesaler. Now, the first thing that you have to be excellent at is the marketing. You have to understand that as an entrepreneur, whether you are a real estate investor or whether you're anything else in this world, guess what? You have to do the marketing, right? It's all about the marketing. And if you think about it, Coca-Cola, which is one of the biggest brands in the world, right? What does Coca-Cola spend every second of every minute of every hour of every day in every language, including sign language, in every country, right? What are they doing? They're doing marketing. So if that big company with that big brand has to spend all that time, effort, energy doing marketing, what do you think your little dinky little brand has to do? A lot more marketing, right? So take it from them and don't just think that, oh, I've got an investing company. They're not going to come. You have to make them come to you. I've listed several of the different marketing strategies here. Many of these marketing strategies, the ones that I listed at the top, are the ones that require very little money as a real estate investor, okay? Because I recognize that some of you guys have more money than others, right? Now, as you get further down the list, you'll see some of the strategies that require a lot more money as a real estate investor. Now, if you're thinking, gosh, I don't have enough money to do this real estate investing thing, I don't have enough money to do marketing, listen, marketing is a problem that can be solved two different ways. It can either be solved with time, right? Driving for dollars, door knocking, putting out bandit signs, right? Just being very active. Or it can be solved by throwing money at it, right? You can do the Google AdWords. You can do the yellow letters. You can buy these very expensive lists. You can do the direct mail. Now, if you're not throwing time at it, you have to throw money at it. And if you're not throwing money at it, then you have to throw time at it. But if you have neither time nor money, then you have a completely different problem that real estate's not going to solve for you all tonight, right? But be committed to the marketing and be consistent with the marketing. So one of my favorite quotes is this. It's a combination from, it's a quote primarily from Anthony Robbins, but he says, people think that information is the problem. People think that I'm not successful because I don't know enough to be successful. And he says, that's not really the truth. Tell me what you do consistently, day in and day out, and I will tell you who you are. There's enough information out there for all of us to be billionaires with six-pack abs, right? Then the information is there. But tell me what you do consistently, day in and day out, and I will tell you who you are, and I will tell you how much progress and how you will succeed. You have to be consistent with your marketing, whether you're feeling it today or not. Coca-Cola is consistent with their marketing at all times, right? And when they're not doing marketing, what happens to their sales? It goes down. So you guys have to be consistent with your marketing as well. And here's the reason why I bring that up is this. It is a very common trap for when someone gets their deal or their first deal or their fifth deal, that they say, I got to stop all my marketing efforts. I don't have time to answer my phone. What? No, that should be all that you're doing. I have had investors tell me why I haven't been able to do my marketing because, well, I had a contractor problem and now I'm getting in there and I'm finishing the job myself. Well, that sounds like, okay. So yeah, I like that you're getting on it. I like you're getting it to the finish line. But the truth is, you're getting in your own way. Self-sufficiency, doing it yourself, is a recipe for poverty. Yes? Think about that. Yeah, if you're doing everything yourself, then you can't do the things that give you the highest and best return on your big brains, right? And the thing that will give you the highest and best return on your big brain is the marketing that you do as a real estate investor. As you do the marketing, you'll get a call from a seller. You'll have to get very good at your sales and negotiation skills. And I'll say the first thing that you want to do as soon as you get a call from someone, set the appointment to see the house. And some of you guys, and I know some of you guys are left-brainers, are saying, well, I don't know if I want to go and see that house. There may not be anything there. It may not have the right equity position. This sounds like a waste of time. Wonderful. You stay home. I'll take that one, right? And guys, let me tell you something. It's those first deals. It is really those first deals. You have to go to every single one, whether you know it is a deal or whether you know it is not a deal. Why is that? Why is that? You need the practice. You need to put the reps in, right? You're not going to go out and win Mr. Bodybuilding America by just walking on the stage because all that other stuff leading up to it was not getting you to the stage. No, you've got to put in all of the reps. You've got to put in all the work. You've got to be comfortable having these conversations because this is the alternative. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. Oh, I got one. There's a lot here. But guess what? You didn't get the reps in. You don't have the experience. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to overcome the objections. And guess what? You lose the deal to someone else who went to all of those other appointments, got those reps in, got that experience. So go there. Make the appointment. Whether you think initially it is a deal or not. Now, after you get to investing for 16 years, then I will allow you to be a little bit more selective. But until then, you go to everything to build up that experience. Conduct the interview. For me, I have 82 different questions that I like to ask a seller because I want to know what I'm walking into before I walk into. I want to be as prepared as possible, and I know both the gotchas and the different opportunities that are out there. As you're going through the interview, you'll find out that motivation, their reason for selling. You'll also want to get the condition and the repairs that are needed on the property. Now, I'm going to give you guys an expert tip, and that is this. when you are talking to the seller and you are saying, what's the condition of the property, what are you going to get?
The same great condition.
It's good. It's good. Condition is a subjective question or an objective question. It's very subjective, right? Ask anyone who has 10 cats, whose house doesn't smell like they have 10 cats, right? That's a subjective question. Let me give you the insider tip that is the objective question that will get you to where you want, which is trying to figure out what the repairs are. For every major component of the house, ask this question. When was the last time you replaced or updated insert item here? Is that objective? Yes. If all of your comps have my favorite colors, granite and stainless steel, and if the last time that this homeowner updated their kitchen was 25 years ago, what do you effectively know about that kitchen? It's old. It doesn't have my favorite colors. It doesn't match the comps. I need to do what with the kitchen? Update the kitchen. Could the butcher block countertops in that kitchen be in good shape? Yes. That's why we don't ask subjective questions. That's why we ask objective questions, because that gets us to the finish line to figure out what those repairs really will need to be on that property. And again, always express your interest in buying the property whether you want to or not. Remember, you've got to get your reps in early as a real estate investor. Those bad deals, those no deals, those are the best ways. That's the absolute best way to get there. Nancy, do you need me for anything?
If anybody didn't get a chance to sign up for membership, I have my iPad here to get you signed up.
Oh, is there anyone in here who does not have yet membership? You have membership. You have membership, yeah. Well, you know what, Nancy, online we have some people who may not have membership. So for those of you guys who are online, and for those of you guys who would like to join us, take advantage of the market updates, take advantage of the keynote presentations, take advantage of our 3-day workshops, and get our big investor real estate blueprint with the 273 different things that we've learned about investing, you guys can go to TexasREIAs.com. That's TexasREIAs, REIAS, to sign up for membership, be part of our association, get all the benefits that come with it. So thank you, Nancy, appreciate that. So as you're doing your due diligence, step 3, you'll want to figure out what the value of that property is. Now, information is so available to us right now, and I've basically concluded in the last several years that the internet knows everything, right? The problem is that there's a fair amount of ridiculousness just sprinkled in around there. And the problem is, if you're new, you don't know what's correct and what is incorrect. You can get your value of the property for free. Yes? Just put in the address. What's going to come up? Redfin, Zillow, Trulia. And guess what? Redfin, Zillow, and Trulia typically off by a factor of anywhere from 5 to 10% on average. You don't know if it's 5 to 10% higher. You don't know if it's 5 to 10% lower. Will that affect the offer that you make on this property? Yes. You're either going to over-offer and possibly lose money, or you're going to under-offer and not get the property at all. Does that make sense? Guys, to be clear, even if you are just wholesaling, you will not be a successful real estate investor unless and until you get an investor-friendly realtor on your power team. Period. Because it's only that investor-friendly realtor who's going to do what? Give you the real comps. So I don't know if you guys were following this. The appraisal district. What did the appraisal district say about a week ago about the Austin Board of Realtors?
They're not raising taxes.
The appraisal district said, we're not going to put out the 2020 values because we can no longer get into the MLS to figure out what those values were. And they are not supposed to be in the MLS to figure out what the values were in the first place, by the way. And even their estimate of the values from the standpoint of their tax appraisal was still off, by the way, right? But the issue is this. There's a lot of free information out there. The information that's not free or the information that requires access is the best information, which is from a licensed realtor. You have to have one on your team in order to be successful as a real estate investor. Because I've seen Zillow off by as much as 50%. And that will destroy you as a real estate investor. Now, to be clear, the people who make the biggest mistakes, this is aside from the wholesaling conversation, are the people who are smart. I'm looking at you, Larry. I can just tell it's the glasses. Yeah. The left-brainers. I've done all my research. I got this. The people who have saved up some money. I got a 401k. It's hefty. I don't need no stinking hard money lender. I don't need no stinking bank. Hey, a wholesaler brought me this property and they said, these are the comps. Wholesaler said, these are the repairs. And guess what? I said, yeah. I said, I am ready for my HGTV show. I'm ready for my close-up. Let this fun begin. Okay? And they are getting the property from the same person that's giving them all of the due diligence on that property. And who's also the same person who only gets paid as long as you believe all of that due diligence. Right? A fool and his money are soon parted. Just because you are an expert in the field that you are in, just because you've saved up money in corporate, congratulations. That's fantastic for you. But don't be soon parted with that money because you don't have someone else putting eyes on your deal to make sure that your opportunity really is a true opportunity, right? So how do you do that? You get access to the MLS through a realtor, through a friend, so you can do your own due diligence. Listen, nobody is going to spend your money the way that you're going to spend and look after your money, right? So please get that analysis and due diligence done. Please make sure you're getting a great realtor on your power team to give you what those real comps are. And we went through the estimation of repairs in terms of asking objective questions versus subjective questions. Now, obviously, when you're on the phone and you're armchair investing, which is fun to do, and after you get to a certain level, you will be very good at it. So you will say, this is in that zip code, this is in that neighborhood, this is a house of this age and this size. You know what the repairs are going to be, right? But as you're just getting started, you're not going to know. You're still going to have to take a trip over there with your contractor to be able to make sure that you got those numbers right. So, this is going to be scary for some of you guys. My left-brainers, this is going to really scare you. But I'm going to suggest you make your offer over the phone. House, sight, unseen. My left-brainers, I know this is hard for you to do the first few times. But I promise once you give into it, you will be a better investor. And it will take time and it will take that building of confidence to get there. How do you make an offer over the phone? What do you say?
I want to buy your place.
You want to buy your place? What else?
I want to make you an offer.
I want to make you an offer. Great. What's that offer going to be?
What about when I analyze the house?
70% of the market value.
70% of the market value?
What are you willing to walk away with?
What are you willing to walk away with? Sharon? Yeah. You're more on it than anybody else who said anything. Sometimes we get so excited, like I've done the math. I've done the 70% of ARV match repairs. I'm ready to make my offer. I'm prepared. And no. Why? Occasionally, rarely, admittedly, but occasionally, the seller will tell you a lower price than what you originally had in mind. That day is a day that you do a very special dance called the happy dance, the happy investor dance, okay? It doesn't happen very often, but open yourself up to that opportunity by letting them, because they got a number too, and make me an offer, so back and forth, but try and get their number first, every time, and then make your offer. If it's close, you're confirming that appointment that you made when you first picked up that call, right? If it's not, then you may want to send in a different team. What does that mean? That might mean a realtor team, right? To go in and list it possibly. Bring your offer docs as you come in. They're about 10 to 15 different documents, usually Trek documents that I will bring with me to every seller appointment, ranging from the basic Trek contract to the seller finance addendum, to the owner finance addendum, to the lead-based paint, to HOA, to whatever else might be going on there, right? You always want to get the seller's disclosure. For me, I want to get an authorization to release loan information so I can call the bank, figure out how much is owed. I want to get as much information as I can. You don't want to go back and have them continue to sign different papers over and over again, because they're going to get a little fatigued by that, right? So bring everything with you so that you are prepared the second you get over there. You don't want to get over there and forget something and then try and get them back, because they're sometimes hard to get back. So your fifth step, meet the seller at the house. Now you will re-estimate those repairs on the spot. So sometimes little fibs are said, sometimes little things are left out. I gave you guys some of the keys in terms of doing the seller interview over the phone. There was one set of questions I did not give you that are it's a very important set of questions. And you have to ask this in a very casual way, which is this. Did I hear some dogs in the background? Do you have dogs? I love dogs, right? Any animals? Do you want to know if they have animals? Yes, because even if they have a 2 or 3 year old flooring or paint, right? Animals can, and then you want to ask them about the other animals, which are kids, in a very nice way, right? Because my son, I swear, when he was like 5 years old, I think he just took a can of Diet Dr. Pepper and just started just to twirl around the room with it, right? And I'll tell you guys, and this is a funny story, and I'm going to tell you guys too. One time I went into my son's bathroom, and he was about 5 or 6, maybe 5 at the time. And there was pee everywhere. Everywhere. You guys, some of you guys have kids and boys. This is apparently a thing. And so I walked out of his bathroom, I'm like, son, what happened in here? And he comes and looks like he'd never seen this before. And he says with the straightest face ever, "Oh, Mom, a wild animal must have broken in." I can't even say that. A wild animal must have broken in here last night. Oh, really? So don't forget to ask about pets and kids, because does that make a difference? The answer is yes. You might have to re-estimate those repairs, adjust the offer. You can sign the contract there. For me, I like to send it via DocuSign before I even get there, especially if those numbers are close. Some people like to sign it in person. Also recommend putting a lockbox on the house. Traffic in Austin, Texas. I mean, come on. When I first started investing in real estate, I'll tell you guys, I put 25,000 miles on my car that first year in investing. Normally I put like 12,000. Now I even put less than that. But I had properties from Dripping Springs to Georgetown. Okay. What I learned when I had properties from Dripping Springs to Georgetown is invest in these $20 4-digit combo code lockboxes. Okay. That way you won't have to drive from Dripping Springs to Georgetown as you are investing. My $20 lockboxes are left all over town too, right? It's like cost me more than $20 of my time and of my gas to be able to go back there and get them, right? So again, you can send the contract via DocuSign. So DocuSign is something. It's kind of a legacy thing for me, just because I've been using it for the last 10 years. The preferred method today is HelloSign. Does anybody use HelloSign? It's much easier than DocuSign. In fact, it says, hey, looks like the person who sent you this DocuSign agreement has already clicked all the places that you need to initial and sign. After you do your first initial and signature, we'd like to make your life a little bit more convenient for you. And since you trust the person who sent you this document, would you just like us to just go ahead and put all of your initials and signatures through there and save you about 32 seconds in the rest of your day? And the answer is, why, yes, I would, right? But if you're using DocuSign, you have to scroll, click, scroll, click. It's a little annoying, right? So hello sign, a little bit better from that standpoint. And you'll find that most sellers aren't really reading the 10 pages anyway, right? Also recommend using the TREC contract. So if you guys do not know where to find the contract to put a property under contract, Google TREC, T-R-E-C. That's where you'll find that contract. You'll take that contract or you'll email that contract to the title company, let them know that the deal will be assigned. To be clear, there's earnest money that goes to the title company, there's option money that goes to the seller. The option money is what allows you to be able to terminate that contract in the event that you don't want to buy that property anymore. You can't find an end buyer for it if you're wholesaling it. Step 7, you'll market the property to other buyers. There's great buyers lists on our Facebook page as well as part of the membership here. Landlords in the area, hard money lenders many times have buyer lists. IRAs, so Quest Trust has many events, lots of opportunities to shop that property. Make sure you have all the stats lined up. So give that ARV, give those repairs, and give the rents. Why do you want to give the rents? Because sometimes your buyer doesn't want to buy, fix, and flip. Sometimes your buyer wants to buy and hold. And let me tell you something about buy and hold buyers. They will always pay more than a fix and flip buyer. Okay? Be ready for them. Have the rents. Give them that option. I didn't think about renting it. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and rent it. Oh my gosh, this is such a pet peeve of mine. Especially, and this happens to a lot of new wholesalers. They'll forget to tell you what their wholesale fee is until you go to closing. And like, oh, I thought your price to me, the one that you quoted me, was included your fee. Well, I've had people tell, oh no, I didn't, I forget. No, don't forget, because that's going to really upset a lot of people right at the end. You don't want that. Meet those end buyers at the property or just send them with the combo code, right? We invested in that $20 lockbox to send them there. Now, this is not a realtor lockbox. This is just a basic little 4-code lockbox. Now, there is a fear, and it is a valid one. Well, what if, and I get a lot of people asking this, well, what if that person tries to steal that deal from me? Yeah, let me tell you something. That happens all the time. Realtors and brokers have to adhere to a code of ethics. Real estate investors, well, that would be something called the Wild Wild West. And people steal deals all the time. How do you protect yourself? 2 very basic ways. Number 1, have it under contract. I've seen people try to wholesale properties they don't have under contract. They're just talking. They just get so excited. They talk too much and they give addresses and all this stuff. Don't do that. I don't want that to be any of you guys. The second thing is protect yourself by signing a non-circumvent agreement. Okay, this is a non-disclosure, non-circumvent agreement that basically says, in the event that you try to go around me, you're still going to pay me, and that is a legally enforceable document. There's a third thing that is a little more nuanced, and that is this. If you tell the investor that you're wholesaling to, oh, this is my first deal, I don't really know anything, right? Go down that path, and what is that? Then you look like Bambi, right? And you're going to get taken advantage of. But if you instead tell the other investor, oh my gosh, if you like this one, I've got 3 others that I'm working on right now. How much money do you have? What's your appetite for buying some of these other properties? Oh, no. At that point, you look like a gravy train. It's going to be throwing off deals and going to be making me money for forever. How likely am I to screw you over if I think you're going to be making me money forever? Yeah, I'm very unlikely. But if I think you're new at this, and I'm not talking about me personally, but I've seen other people do this, there's that opportunity. So that's the nuance thing, the carrot and the stick. The carrot is, I've got all these other deals. The stick is the non-circumvent. You'll negotiate your wholesale fee with your end buyer. So sometimes your end buyer might go through and say, oh, well, clearly you're new at this and you missed the fact that it needs a new water heater, it needs a new air conditioning, it needs a new whatever it may be. Or you don't know that this is something that has to be replaced or goes on in this particular neighborhood. So you may have to negotiate that. Now, that does not mean just lower your fee Okay, that you also have the opportunity to go back to the seller and ask them to do what? Lower that price. You heard from Bill earlier. Bill negotiated a truck with one of his deals. Okay, I have art. I have everything's negotiable in real estate. Everything is negotiable. I've asked for pool tables, right? Everything is negotiable in real estate. And don't be afraid, and this is something that is uncomfortable the first time you do it. Don't be afraid to ask the seller to bring money to the closing table. It feels really weird the first time that you do it, but it's worth asking. You're not going to get what you don't ask for. As you are negotiating with your end buyer, a couple tips that will keep you out of trouble with the Texas Real Estate Commission, the licensing committee for realtors and brokers. You have to disclose, and this sounds ridiculous, because to me, by nature of the word wholesale, that means like, I don't own this thing, I'm the middleman. But TREC wants you to disclose that you don't own this thing, that you are just the middleman. So the way that you do this is obviously that's one disclosure, I don't own the property. The second way is to make sure that you are not acting like an unlicensed realtor, right? Who's acting like you are a realtor. You have to say that you are not selling the property, i.e. like a realtor would be, but instead you are selling your contract. You are selling something called, and this is an important technical term here that is very critical to put into use. You are selling your equitable interest in the property. You're selling your equitable interest in the property. If you say those words, you will be safe from TREC. But TREC does fine real estate investors who are acting like realtors and fine them all the time. So I don't want that to be any of you guys. Typical wholesale agreement, you can find these online. TREC does not make a wholesale agreement. You will have to pull one offline. The issue is the ones offline may be from any state, not Texas. So they may not have those words that I just gave you in there. It's important that you add them in, again, to protect yourself. You'll substitute your name on the agreement, the contract, with the seller's name. You've got two choices. You can do one closing where you're just getting an assignment fee, or you can do two closings, okay, where you're buying in the morning as an example and you're reselling in the afternoon. Under what circumstance would you make a decision to do one closing versus two closings?
Because you don't want
The money that you're making?
you don't want your investor to know how much you're making on the property versus you don't want the seller to know how much money you're
When
selling.
you
don't
are
want
making, if the adjective used to describe the amount of money that you're making is obscene, yeah, you're going to do two closes. Okay, two closes, it costs money. But what are you buying? You're buying an insurance policy against the seller having a freak out or the buyer having a freak out. Okay, now if it's $5,000 to $10,000, you can probably do one closing, a single closing. If it's $20,000 or more, you'll probably want to do two closes. If it's somewhere between 10 and 20, that's going to be a personal it's going to be a business decision, okay? But a lot of people get penny wise, pound foolish, want to do a single close because they don't want their money cut by paying closing costs twice. But do consider it once the amount of money that you're making starts to become obscene.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you charge $25,000 on an assignment, right, you're not doing a double closing, there's about a 90% chance that's the last time you work with that.
For sure. Now, I will tell you that I have been paid $70,000 wholesale fees, and I will tell you that I have paid a $50,000 wholesale fee. But that is because I look to see, does this deal still fit my numbers? And for me personally, I have a personal philosophy of, I don't care what the wholesaler makes. In fact, I want the wholesaler to make as much as possible, as long as I can still buy it within the numbers that I'm still able to make money. Not every buyer has that philosophy. Like I have heard real estate investors, I heard one say to me one time, well, You can't charge more than $5,000 for a wholesale fee. Is this North Korea? Who says, right? Oh no, a wholesale fee should only be $5,000. Guess what? I'm never going to be wholesaling to you. But I am going to wholesale to someone who has the same philosophy I have, which is, I don't care what the fee is, as long as my numbers work, yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, my first deal, the wholesaler made $60,000 on it, and the numbers worked. I was fine with it. The seller was not fine with it.
Yeah.
They found out at the closing table, stalled the closing, and they had to go back and renegotiate with the seller before the seller would sign on that.
Yeah. Now, the HUDs, or the closing disclosure statements, should be blind, which means the seller only sees the seller side, the buyer only sees the buyer side. Okay? That is the way it's supposed to be. Now, sometimes not everybody does their job right. Okay? So be sure to ask for that blind closing disclosure. Okay? But somebody's going to know, if you're doing a single closing, somebody's going to know how much you're making. Once it becomes obscene, don't be an idiot, do double closing. Send your revised contract to the title company if you're doing a single closing with your invoice. So I've seen investors make the mistake of not sending an invoice. Title companies are great at pushing paper. They're fantastic at it, but they're terrible at reading your mind. Okay? So if you don't send an invoice, they don't know how much to put for your wholesale fee. They don't know what you negotiated, right? So please, and this is, I hate to have to say this, but I have to say this because I've seen this happen. And it's all the steps. Get paid on the HUD-1 or the closing disclosure document from the end buyer. Again, if you're doing a single closing, cash a check, and you'll want to do it all over again, over and over and over. Talking about the sales and negotiation, just very quickly, build the relationship. This will take some getting out of your comfort zone for some of my left-brainers. It'll be right up your alley for some of the right-brainers. Understand their needs and motivation. Of course, every investor, yes, every single one of you is fast, cash, no closing costs, no realtors. Yeah, wonderful. You are a commodity now. If that's all you're marketing on, if that's all you can, no, you've just become a commodity. The ones that get the deals are the ones that differentiate themselves. Solve the problem and you'll get the deal. Offer formulas. So we use the 70% of ARV minus repairs offer formula for our buys, fixes, and flips. If someone is wholesaling me a deal, then that whatever they've offered has to be less than that for it to fit my deal for a buy, fix, and flip. Now, if I'm buying and holding and it's in an appreciating area, then I will pay more. Those are your premium buyers. As if you are wholesaling, you want, yes, buy, fix, and flip. Those buyers, they'll be good, they'll be solid, but they're not going to pay you as much as a buy and hold buyer will. So again, 70% of ARV minus repairs minus your fee, or if you can't get that, then if you can't solve for X, which is getting that offer amount, then you got to solve for Y, which is getting a buyer who will overpay above that amount for the property. Papering up the deal, you'll use the state contract. Again, you can get that on the TREC website. And then for the assignment agreement, you'll get that online, but you'll add in that specific verbiage that we use when we are wholesaling right here in Texas. So I want to make sure that that's clear. And then I'll end with a little slide, the truth about wholesaling. It's fun. It can be easy money. It can feel easy as long as everything goes right. But sellers sometimes can drive you crazy, and buyers can sometimes drive you crazy. And there's a lot to deal with there. But it is a great way to generate quick cash, great networking strategy, great getting started strategy, not a lot of risk. But the truth is, for most people, it's very difficult to make a full-time living as a wholesaler, right? Why is that? Well, guess what? Guess who you're competing with? everybody else who doesn't need to wholesale it, right? It doesn't need to generate another $5, $10, $20, $60,000, right? So if you're competing with that, and they get there at the same time, and wholesalers offering less than what some other investor is, who's going to get that deal? Probably the other investor, right? Probably the other investor. So do be aware that, and that's another reason why people start to transition away from wholesaling, although it's always a back pocket strategy for even if you're a very seasoned real estate investor. But the final whole truth is that you've probably never read the book, The Millionaire Wholesaler. Why is that? Because it's never been written, okay? Why is that? Because people eventually, to get to that $1 million status, transition to the other strategies that we have as real estate investors that ultimately make more money than wholesaling. Now, we are in a very unique part of the market cycle right now. I'll kind of contradict this a little bit, where I am in some cases seeing wholesalers make more money than the investor who buys it, holds it for 4 to 6 or however many months, and then gets to the finish line and resells it. Why is that? Because we got a lot of motivated buyers out there. We got a lot of wannabe real estate investors. Okay. Now, that is a disruption based on the market that we're in right now, right? But that is a disruption that can create opportunity. So you'll find people who would otherwise not wholesale, but man, I got this buyer who's willing to pay me a ridiculous amount of money, and I don't even have to close on it. I don't have to fix it. I don't have to work through the market. I don't have to do any of this stuff. So always be open to all of these different strategies and the opportunities as they come. So guys, that is the presentation on wholesaling. I hope this was something that was beneficial to you guys. Thank you all for being with us here tonight, being part of the Investor Association. For those of you guys who are online,